Run, I will climb, I will soar. I'm undefeated. Oh, jumping out of my skin, pull the cord. Yeah, I believe it. Oh, the past is everything we were. Don't make us who we are. So I'll dream until I make it real, and all I see is stars. It's not until you fall that you fly. When your dreams come alive, you're unstoppable. Take a shot, chase the sun, find the beautiful. We will grow in the dark, turning dust to gold, and we'll dream impossible. Possible. And we'll dream impossible. I will chase, I will reach, I will fly until I'm breaking, out my cage like a bird in the night. I know I'm changing, it.
Well, hello there, and welcome to Gentleman's Purpose this evening. We've got a great show for you. I hope you have had an excellent day today. And it's Taco Tuesday. I mean, you can't go wrong with Taco Tuesday. And so we have a lot of really cool stuff to talk about tonight. We are going to be looking at wisdom, and we're going to be talking about amazing women and learning to dance and unsung jam sessions. Gentlemen, these are cool topics. These are amazing things that we need to be aware of, that we need to be embracing and connecting with in order to really live a life that is the true life that's truly life. Hey guys on Instagram, glad you guys are back again this evening. Had a little trouble with the technology yesterday, but all of a sudden the little icons that allowed me to choose green screen or this or that, they disappeared yesterday and now they're back. So praise God for that. And but I do encourage you to go over to the Instagram page and subscribe and ring the bell and all that stuff. It's good for the show, and plus you'll get notifications when we do things that aren't necessarily announced. So that's good. And so let's see what we got here. Wisdom. Oh my, where do we even begin with this? So wisdom is one of those amazing things. What I know of wisdom compared to what I learned and thought was wise living in my earlier years are not the same thing. And this may or may not be true for you. Again, I don't know how you kind of came to understand what wisdom was, but there is this amazing, almost parable metaphor type thing that one of the greatest kings of Israel came up with, and he personified wisdom as a woman, and he personified folly as a woman, and he compared these two women and how he kind of interacted with them and what his experiences were with wisdom and with folly. And in doing so, he gained wisdom and insight. And isn't that so true about our lives? I mean, so often in life, we learn things by falling into difficult lessons. And it's like we fall into folly and we learn, okay, that's folly. And we learn, okay, that's actually wisdom. There was good fruit that came from that, and there was bad fruit that came from that. And so we learn as we walk through this life what wisdom is. And I mean, people say that knowledge is power, but the reality is if you can know all sorts of things, you can know a bunch of stuff, but if you don't know how to apply it in any given situation and do so wisely, then you're going to be a mess. You're going to be like this legalistic person that says, well, if I do A, B, and C, then D is going to happen. Not so much. But wisdom says something totally different. Wisdom does have a cause and effect relationship, but wisdom also discerns a whole lot more than folly does. And so it's this amazing stuff. And if you want to learn more about kind of what I'm talking about, this parable or this metaphor, you have to read the book of Proverbs in the Holy Scriptures. It's amazing. King Solomon just does a great job of laying out all sorts of different things as we go through life to be as wise as serpents, so that we can kind of slide into situations and slide right out without actually, getting snagged in that and destroyed by it. And of course, dove lessons, how to actually maintain our innocence and our purity and maintain our sense of connection and rightness with God ultimately. And a lot of those things, the words that I just said, if you were to define them, it would not necessarily be what you would think it would be. To be pure, you wouldn't necessarily think it is what you think it is. I mean, God has actually declared all things to be clean. Like back in the old days, God said, well, this is clean and this is unclean, and you can do this and you can't do that. But with the advent of the Messiah, Jesus, and what he accomplished on the cross, God has actually declared all things clean. Yet wisdom still applies. It's a strange like interaction, the way those things work together, but they do work together. And as we explore them together as gentlemen, we are going to be better men for it, and we're going to be able to connect with the people that we love and the communities that we love, and we're going to be able to do amazing things. And so when we talk about wisdom, I wanted to share with you actually the half-brother of James shared, the half-brother of Jesus, his name is James. He actually defined this pretty clearly for us. And he asked the question, who is wise and understanding among you? Now, you know, most guys, if you ask us, do you think you're wise? I'd be like, sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. It's just kind of a mixed bag, really. I want to be more wise, and some people might think they're truly wise, and they might be the most unwise amongst us. But anyway, he says, by his good conduct, let him show his works in the meekness of wisdom. So then we have to kind of think, well, what is good conduct, and how do we define that? What does that actually look like? And so, coming from a Christian worldview, we look at Jesus and say, well, what are the things that Jesus did? Well, he hung out with poor people. He hung out with rich people. He loved them both. He walked around healing people. He basically was super humble and did all sorts of really cool things. And I guess if you want to know more about Jesus, just read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Those are the Gospels that tell about his life on earth and stuff. And so by his good conduct, let him show his works in the meekness of wisdom. So wisdom is in some way meek. Now, here I want to clarify that for you, is because meekness is not weakness. We need to understand that as men, because I'm not meek. I'm a man's man. Meekness is actually the median. So, in other words, if in the political landscape you have the far right and you have the far left, and they have the things that they're all about, and they're like this all the time, someone who is meek looks at the far right, looks at the far left, and then says, what is the truth here? And they find that meekness in the middle, where they're able to dissatisfy and satisfy both of those extremes simultaneously. And that's a tough thing to do. That takes the wisdom of God. And so it says, so in the meekness of wisdom, because blessed are the peacemakers, people who make peace, not peacekeepers. Peacekeepers actually take people who are at opposing ends and just keep them from killing each other long enough to get through and muddle through. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to create shalom and completeness. And so it says, in the meekness of wisdom, and this is what is not wisdom, but if you have bitter jealousy, selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast and be false against the truth. So if you think that you're wise, and you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your heart, then you're lying. You're lying, and you're being false against the truth. And so that's pretty heavy right there. And so we need to understand that. And then it goes on to say, this is not the wisdom that comes down from above. So if you're feeling bitter and you're feeling jealous and you have some selfish ambition where you want something, and if you can't have it, then you're just going to like have a conniption fit or something like that. That's something you need to deal with, because that's not wisdom. It's earthly. It's demonic. It actually says earthly, unspiritual, demonic. And it says, for where there is jealousy and selfish ambition, there will be disorder and every vile practice. So even if you're not actually openly expressing these inward feelings and tendencies that you have, if they're in your heart, what's going on in here is actually happening out here. That's a spiritual reality. And so it says, let's see here. So now he gives us the definition of wisdom. And what does it say? It says, but the wisdom from above is first pure. Then it's peaceable. It's gentle. It's open to reason. It's full of mercy and good fruits. It's impartial and it's sincere. And it says that a harvest of covenant faithfulness is sown in peace by those who make peace, or shalom, completeness. And so that is such a cool thing to memorize and commit to memory, because if you're going to personify a woman, gentlemen, that you want to actually spend your life with, a woman who is first pure and then peaceable and then gentle and then open to reason, if she's full of mercy and good fruits like love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control, those are the fruits of the Holy Spirit. If she's impartial, if she's sincere, she's a woman who speaks the truth, but it's not a truth that vies on one side or the other. It simply speaks the truth regardless of who it offends, and she speaks the truth in love. I mean, if you're going to personify a woman, that is the kind of woman that a man wants to have. I mean, honestly, if you're going to spend the rest of your life with somebody, a woman who King Solomon defines as wisdom, and personifies wisdom as, is amazing. And Jesus says something pretty powerful about this woman wisdom. He says, wisdom will be justified. You see, there were a bunch of religious leaders that were giving John Baptist a hard time because he didn't drink wine. He wore camel skin and was basically prophesying. And they were basically, saying, "Oh, look at him. He doesn't eat and drink or anything like that. And he's got a demon or something." And then they look at Jesus, and Jesus kind of cruises into town. He's hanging out with everybody. He's having drinks. He's eating food and everything. They're like, "Look at him. He's a glutton and a drunkard." Some people you just can't win with. And so Jesus is like, listen, he says, John came singing a dirge or a mourning song, and I came singing a celebratory song, and you guys, nobody can win with you. You're ridiculous. You're constantly looking for something to complain about. And so just, get away from me. And so it was this amazing situation where Jesus said that, points out, he says, wisdom will be justified by her children. So those who focus on wisdom like a mother and learn from her will be blessed. And wisdom, in the way that she teaches people, will be justified. So the encouragement about wisdom is to seek her like silver. And so this is, or more than silver, I would say even. And so when we try to transition from this concept of wisdom as a philosophical concept, or wisdom as something that we need to attain, certainly through study, absolutely through experience, and those sorts of things, super, super important so that we are wise and able to navigate the world in a way that produces good fruit in our lives and in the lives of the people that we interact with. Especially, gentlemen, if we are in a position of authority where we are managing something, where we're overseeing something, where we have a family to steward, or something like that. So that kind of moves us into this concept of amazing women. Now, I have two sons. My oldest son is 18. My youngest son is 14. That tells me that my oldest son is about the age where he's going to start thinking about connecting with and taking a wife unto himself. My youngest son at 14, just going through puberty, he's going to start thinking about dating and those sorts of things. These are vital, vital transitions for young men. And we as dads have a responsibility to help guide and pray for the kind of woman that our sons are going to be blessed by, and the kind of woman that our sons can be a blessing to. Each of our sons, they have certain aptitudes and skill sets, and they have certain things that they're passionate about. And there are women whose intellect and women whose passions and things will coincide with that. And so as we pay attention to our sons, we as wise dads need to think through what is going to complement my son and who he is and the things that he's passionate about. And we as dads are responsible for praying that God would put together and shape and mold and form through experience, and however God does what God does, and then bring that woman to our sons. And that's important. And dads of females, I mean, if you've got a daughter, you ought to be praying for the same kind of man that's going to be conducive to a fruitful life with your daughters. And so that's super important as well. And so when I think about amazing women, I mean, I can't think of just like I don't know, like okay, here is your Barbie doll like woman, right? And she's perfect in every way and all this sort of stuff. It's not true, because every man has his own passions. Every man has the things that he is excited by and engaged with, and those things that make him happy, and those sorts of things. And so when we think about this, I have a friend that I go to men's Bible study with, and he said when he was single, he actually sat down and wrote a list of, basically listed out all the things that were character traits and things like that, and physical traits of the perfect woman for him, and he prayed and asked for those things. And so he says to us in private, not like trying to get brownie points with his wife or anything, that God did that. God answered that prayer and brought him a woman who almost word for word met everything that he prayed for. And that is amazing. See, God is a father. He's a father who cares about our happiness. One time I asked my dad, I said, what can I do to make you proud? You know where I'm at in life right now, and what can I do to make you proud of me? And he said, I'm really easy about stuff like that. He's basically just like, I just want you to be happy. And a lot of times we don't want to think about God the Father like that, because we read the Bible and we see that he's like, he's got a lot of different various aspects to his personality. But I think at the heart, that is God's will for us, is that we would be happy, that we would be filled with joy, and that we would be able to endure and to love him and to serve him, and to and in loving him and serving him, to be able to find joy in the things that he enjoys us having, because he created us to be the way that we are. And so that's not to say that we don't sin and that we don't sometimes desire things that are bad for us. If that wasn't if that was true, then none of us would smoke cigarettes or drink too much or eat too many hamburgers or any of that thing. We have a tendency to desire things that aren't necessarily bad for us, but we desire them in excess, or we do desire things that are just flat out bad for us. And so sometimes we just do that. Why do we do that? Because we're sinful at times. And so I don't know what is going on here. Okay, that's good. All right, you're still there? Okay, cool. All right, so amazing women. I can't give you a definition of it. I just have to tell you that when I think of wisdom, when I read about wisdom here, when I read the same King Solomon, who had a lot of experience with women. I mean, this guy had thousands of women during his lifetime, and so and he writes in Proverbs 31 about the woman that his mom told him that he should look for. And I've actually talked on the show about that before. So between what James says here in, I think it's the end of chapter 3, and what we read about from King Solomon, and through the Proverbs, and specifically what his mom says in Proverbs 31, we can have some idea of what a good woman is in God's eyes, and with regard and within the context of wisdom. And so that's super, super important. Actually, there's a really good movie called The Song, and it's like a modern day remake of this battle, or this relationship challenge that goes on between wisdom and folly. And it's set in a modern day setting. Of this guy is a musician, and it's a really good movie. Actually, it's called The Song. And so if you can pick that up and take a look at that and kind of watch that, you'll kind of understand how the parable works. And I think you might actually be inspired by it, and maybe find yourself appreciating some things a lot more, which will be helpful for all of us. Because anytime that we take time to appreciate what God has provided and what God does for us, we become better people. And so next thing I want to talk about is learning to dance. There's actually an article in this month's magazine of Gentleman's Purpose e-magazine, which you can get for free. It's going across the bottom of the screen there, issuu.com/Gentleman's Purpose. If you go there, you can get the November edition for free. And there's an article in there about learning to dance and taking dance lessons, specifically the tango. I'm a huge fan of movies. If anybody's watched the show for any length of time understands that. The Scent of a Woman is one of the greatest movies ever. And learning to dance the tango is such a beautiful, beautiful dance. In learning how to move with and just just flow in relationship with a woman. And that is in itself a picture language of the relationship between a man and a woman, and how beautiful and how really fascinating and awe-inspiring it can actually be when we know how to move together properly and move together in a way that is fruitful. And that takes practice, and it takes time and investment of what you actually are desiring to do, and that is to produce good fruit, joy, awe, reverence for God, those sorts of things. And so when we think about this, and we think about actually learning to dance, actually in the magazine there's a link to a friend of mine. His name is Fabian DeGuffroy, I think. I hope I pronounced that right. But Fabian is a massage therapist. That's his primary gig, but he also is a professional dancer and instructor, and he does a great job. So if you gentlemen would like to learn how to do like social dances or the tango or something like that, and you think you want to invest in your relationship with your spouse or your girlfriend, then I highly, highly encourage that you call Fabian. Or if you can't get a hold of him, if he's all booked up, there's also a couple other dance studios here in Palm Beach County where you can actually take dance lessons with your gal and really learn to connect, have a lot of fun, take the pressure off of kind of just having to show up and suddenly know how to dance. If you're not a good dancer, that's fine. You learn how to do those things, and you're going to have a lot of fun. And so don't give me that, oh, I'm not going to go do that. Don't give me that. You're going to have a blast once you get there and you see that it's a lot of fun. And so I remember watching my oldest son learn to dance at he used to attend A.D. Henderson down at the FAU school for grade school, and they had dance lessons for the kids, and I was like amazed at seeing my son on the stage dancing with this girl that was like a foot taller than him at the time. It was like amazing though, but he was like doing his thing, and I was like, when you see your son out there dancing with a beautiful woman, and you're like, whoa, that's my boy, yeah, all right. And it's a very, very cool thing. And so tell me that God the Father doesn't see you spending that time, investing that time with your wife or with the woman who you're interested in, and doing those sorts of things. And what a skill to have. I mean, talk about James Bond, De Niro. These are guys who are men's men, and they're out there dancing like that. And you're a tough guy? Please get out of here. And so it's an amazing thing that we can do. So the next thing I want to talk about tonight is unsung jam sessions. And I love music. When I was in North Carolina, I got to be around some musicians who were into all sorts of different music, a lot of heavy metal, Christian music. But then there was also some things that brought in violins and all these different types of things. And it really, really was an absolutely amazing experience to spend time with various musicians and things. And of course, Common Grounds Brew and Roastery, the coffee shop in Lake Worth and in Boynton Beach. Kelly Olive is an amazing woman, the wife of Pastor Mike Olive, and she is all about music and helping students to develop their musical skills. And she kind of runs a school for that sort of thing. And so, you always hear me talking about make sure you pick up a guitar and have a guitar laying around so you can strum the guitar and have people over, and maybe pick up a djembe and do the drum thing. Or I used to have a tambourine, a ukulele, all these sorts of things that are just fun to mess around with, especially when you're hanging out with people and stuff like that. And so, oftentimes we go and we see musicians on TV, and we see musicians here and there on these big shows or on YouTube and stuff. But some of the best music that ever happens is when you're sitting around and you're laughing and you're making music and you're trying different things, and you enter into these jam sessions, and they can be such a beautiful thing. And it can be such an intimate time in experiencing music with someone in a setting that is where the pressure is off. It's not about performing. It's just about exploring the music. It's about feeling the rhythm that's going on, really vibing with it and those sorts of things. And so these unsung jam sessions that really bring people together, I mentioned before, on Friday nights, if you go to a Jewish home, the woman of the house will light 2 candles. She'll invite the presence of Shabbos into the experience of the evening, and and they'll have the bread and the wine and those sorts of things. But then the man of the house will sing to her Eshet Chayil, which is essentially Proverbs 31, and he'll sing that to his wife. And if they have children, he'll be singing that over his wife and into his wife in front of their children. And there's just this experience of music that is very intimate. It's very powerful. It develops a connection and builds up a sense of who that woman is, not only in the eyes of her husband, but also in the eyes of her children and anyone else who happens to be there. And then sometimes there are those moments when he just sings that to her directly in that secret place. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And so these unsung jam sessions, the times that we sit and we listen to music together, and those sorts of things are so powerful that, those are the types of things that people remember. So guys, if you're dating or if you're married and you want to create memories with your wife, it doesn't have to be like super complicated. It doesn't have to be like a $5,000 vacation to Europe or anything like that. It can be something as simple as sitting on the patio and listening to music and finding out what kind of music she's into and listening to those things and kind of vibing with her on those. And so if you haven't done that in a while, I strongly encourage you to see how you can possibly put something like that together or arrange it. Maybe take her out to dinner, and when you come home, say we want to sit down and listen to some music for a while. What kind of things have you been listening to recently? And just get into the music with her and spend time. And so that is my encouragement to you, gentlemen, for this evening. I hope that you had an amazing Tuesday. It has been pretty wild. They had karaoke over at one of my clients, the Anchor Inn here in Boynton, or it's actually Lantana. The Anchor Inn, they had karaoke tonight. It was a blast. Met one of my buddies, Jeremy, that I met at another place there, and he just blew me away. I mean, he got up there and started singing, and I was like, dude, that was awesome. And so it was really, really cool. So just want to encourage you guys to again engage, understand, seek wisdom like silver. Look for wisdom in the women that you're interested in and the women that you love. If you don't see very much of it, help to build them up in that wisdom. And again, do so wisely. And then again, whether it's learning to dance and engaging with music, those sorts of things, developing intimacy with the woman that you love, particularly if you're married, super important at all times. It's not something that you just do your first year of courtship. It's something that you're intentional about through the entire relationship. So that's my encouragement to you guys this evening. And again, pick up the magazine, issue.com issue.com/gentleman's purpose. And if there's anything else I can do for you, you can always call me at 1-800-484-9825 or email me at justin@generalmediaconsulting.com. This is me signing off for the night.